Hello, Seiiti Arata. What is the first thing that you do whenever you want to learn something? Alternative A, you read a book on the subject. Alternative B, you sign up to take some classes. Alternative C, you search for videos and tutorials online. And alternative D, you skip the theory, you go straight to practice to learn through trial and error. If you reply to any of these options, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're basically wasting your time. Most people do just that whenever they have to study at school, at college, at work, or in life in general whenever they want to learn a new skill. They go straight to read a book or to watch a class. But that is the wrong way to start, as it makes you waste a lot of time and not learn efficiently. Instead of going straight to books and classes, you should spend at least 10% of your total study time on drawing an efficient map. An efficient map is one that will show you exactly what, why, and how you should study. The first step in studying anything is learning to learn. The meta-learning map will show you exactly what you need to study. Whenever you want to learn something, start by learning to learn that particular subject or skill. Research what is the fundamental knowledge of what you want to learn. Draw a map of the skills you need to acquire to learn that in the most efficient way possible. Meta-learning is the art of learning to learn. It is through meta-learning that you can learn how the knowledge of a particular area is structured. And the advantage of that, of understanding how the knowledge is structured, is that it increases your efficiency. See, not all subjects are learned in the same way. Learning to speak a language is quite different from learning how to swim, which has nothing to do with learning astrophysics. Some subjects need a very practical knowledge, and others need a lot of abstraction. And there are also other subjects that we can only learn with a lot of repetition. Meta-learning is present in any of these subjects. However, you need to differentiate meta-learning from the subject that you're studying. It is one thing learning to learn, another thing is to learn the subject itself. And to separate the things is something that you have to be doing, and for that you have to be drawing your meta-learning map early on. The meta-learning map is the tool that will guide your entire study. Creating the meta-learning map is just as important as doing the study itself. The first step towards fast and efficient learning is to draw a complete map of what you want to learn. Before opening the first page of a book, before attending the first class, you should be concerned with your map. Think of the meta-learning map as a study plan, specific to your case. This map is like a program made exactly for your needs. And because it is personalized and individual map, it's going to be much more efficient than if you would be simply following the generic course programs that have been designed for everybody else, for all students. To draw this map, first select what it is that you want to learn. What is the specific subject? Then make a diagnosis of your current situation. What do you know about that subject? What is your degree of knowledge? What don't you know yet? What are the advantages and disadvantages of learning that subject? With this, you already know where you want to go and what your starting point is. What remains is to understand how you will get from that starting point to your final destination. And from there, you can start doing intense research on how to walk this path efficiently. And during this research, remember that you're not yet learning the subject. You're still learning to learn that subject. The meta-learning map indicates where the information is, the information that you need to acquire as the next step. I'll quickly give you a practical example. I'm going to choose one specific subject. I want to know what is the evidence, the scientific evidence that the memory pill works. And specifically, I want to know about DHA, docosahexaenoic acid. There are these supplements that have been marketed to help cognitive function. Therefore, it is a very specific subject. I'm just not studying biology. So what do I already know about the subject? Well, I know how to find the source of the original studies, the papers. I'm fluent in English. I have experience with scientific methodology, and I have years of experience reading all types of evidence-based medicine materials. I also have the ability to examine the methodology, the details of the experiments to give a very good interpretation of the small details. All of this is the basis. This base is formed by blocks of previous knowledge that will help me. If I didn't have these blocks, well, first I'll have to strengthen this base. Now, what do I still don't know? I still don't know what are the specific arguments for and against the use of DHA to improve memory, so I need to read the reports. Do you understand? I'm creating my plan, and I quickly found out what the information is that I need to acquire to achieve my goal. If I didn't know how to speak English, then I would have to focus first on becoming fluent so I would be able to read the reports. And if I didn't know how to interpret those papers, well, first I'll have to study scientific methodology. So with this plan, I know now what I need is within these two reports. The critical analysis will be a detailed subject, so I'm going to make a separate video for you. You can visit that in arata.se/memory pill. And then here we can continue focusing on the meta-learning map without mixing the subjects. Answer 3 questions to draw a good meta-learning map. Why, what, and how. Your research on learning to learn the subject that you want to study should focus on answering 3 questions. Why, what, and how. Start with why. Understand your motivation to learn a subject. Perhaps it is a subject that you are curious about, perhaps it is a requirement for your profession, or it might be simply a compulsory subject in your college. If you know exactly why you want to learn that subject, you can save a lot of time by focusing your studies on what really matters most to you. This is quite different from following strict programs that are designed for a large number of people. Then you have to answer what. What knowledge and skills will you need to acquire in order to say that you have learned that subject? Is it when you actually speak to a native language, in that language that you're learning? Is it when you score 7 in your final exam? Is it when you play that entire song that you're learning on the piano? A good way to explore the question what is to break the whole subject into smaller pieces. To break up a big subject, you can think what the concepts and facts and procedures that you need to master are. Concepts are generally more abstract ideas that you need to understand. Facts are data that you need to memorize. And procedures are skills that need to be practiced, actions that need to be taken in a certain way. Finally, think about how you're going to learn each of these pieces of the subject. What resources and methods and models will you use in your learning? This is an important point, as the quality of the resources and methods that you're going to be using can make a big difference in your result. You can be modeling people who have already learned what you want to learn. They will tell you what to exclude and what to include in your studies. A good tactic for drawing your meta-learning map is simply to ask people who have already learned that particular topic. We already covered this. We already talked about modeling people here in the Arata Academy channel. It is episode 169 of the Hello Seiiti Arata series. Modeling is discovering how model people manage to study that and seeking to replicate the method, adapting that method to your reality. In this research, you need to find out how people tend to learn that subject that is interesting to them. If something works for a lot of people, it's likely that it will work for you too. It is a good starting point for your map. It is also very useful for you to discover good sources of study. The books that are most useful, the most interesting classes, the better teachers. Write down everything that can be used as a resource for your learning. And from these initial lists, you can start to mark what you need to emphasize and what you can exclude from your studies. You must emphasize the concepts that are most important or that best suit your personal reasons, your why for learning that matter. And you should exclude what you have already mastered or that you don't really see any use for you to be learning in your specific case. The meta-learning map is effective precisely because it customizes your study program to your specific needs. By emphasizing and excluding, you can put together a script that perfectly suits your situation. At least 10% of your study time should be spent designing a meta-learning map. Those who fail to plan are planning to fail. If you have 10 days to study for an exam, you should dedicate your entire first day to drawing your meta-learning map. If you think about learning to play an instrument within the next 12 months, almost 1.5 months of your time will be used to draw your map. Now, this does not mean that it's going to be 1.5 months just in the beginning of your studies. It might take less time than that to be drawing your initial map, but you have to invest more time over those 12 months to be always improving your map. Whether at the beginning of the journey or even during your studies, you have to spend at least 10% of your time just drawing your map. This 10% reference time, of course, it will decrease also if the scale of your project is large. If you plan to study for 500 hours, you don't have to spend 50 hours just learning to learn. You can use your common sense and focus more on the completeness of the map than, this 10% time itself. You can imagine that dedicating 10% of your studies to meta learning is a little bit of a waste of time. You might feel that you like skipping the strategic part of your study and just be studying the subject itself. But what seems like a waste of time at first sight will soon prove to be a huge time saver for you when you actually start your studies. Just try to remember the last time you had to study something. Remember how many useless pieces of information and content you had to go through and consume until you actually got to the main points of the story. How many obvious things did you have to read or see or waste your time on what you already knew? The meta-learning map frees you from the time wasting and allows you to concentrate your focus, your energy, and your time only on what you really need to learn to achieve your goal. Now, don't worry about putting together the perfect meta-learning map. Just do your research, draw your map, and improve over time. If you have never done a study map before, you might be concerned about your meta-learning map not looking good, and this is pretty normal. You shouldn't worry about perfection at first. Like any other skill, the more you make your meta-learning maps, the better you will be at drawing your next maps. Think of your map as a good starting point. As you study the subject, you have the opportunity to be improving your map with all the difficulties that you will encounter in your studies. For example, let's say you decided to study Japanese and you thought that it would be easy for you to be drawing the characters because you have always been good at drawing. So you predicted wrongly that it would take you less time than, for example, to pronounce the words or to memorize vocabulary. However, when you started to study, you saw that your skill in artistic drawings did not actually help you whenever you're drawing Japanese characters. Then you have to adjust your map to allocate more of your time on learning how to actually draw the characters. Remember that your goal is not to be perfect. It is simply to learn as quickly and as efficiently as possible. The meta-learning map is an excellent tool for those who spend many hours studying without being able to learn much. If you have trouble when you're starting to study, then you need to use the meta-learning map strategy. But then what? How can you keep the pace of studying? How can you absorb the most of your materials and the methods that you have defined on your map? Now, to answer these and other questions, I recorded to you a special class in our course, How to Learn Faster. And you can see it right now by visiting arata.se/how to learn.